Hi, I'm May Finlay and I'm here with Ian Anderson, and we've just been watching the first morning of the 4th Lowitja Conference. And there was a really amazing presentation that Janella gave this morning about the evolution of the ACCHO sector, and in particular focusing on the evolution of the Closing the Gap framework, which you've been involved in. Can you just talk to us a little bit about what you see as the future of Closing the Gap?
So I think there are a couple of key things I learned from doing that. The first was co-design is actually hard work.
It's bloody hard work.
Co-design, particularly if you're working for government, you get your authority. In my case, it was from the Commonwealth government, but I was also dealing with state and territory governments who got their authority from their premiers. And you need to work within that authority. There's some things you can't do. So the thing that co-design did is it created a framework where other partners and other players could push governments in ways in which governments weren't fundamentally used to. I don't think there's ever been an intergovernmental agreement that has been co-designed.
I was about to ask you, can government do co-design?
Governments can do co-design, but it's actually quite difficult because there's a fundamental difference in power relations. And co-design, and to be honest, there is not an environment where you have no power relationships. Co-design comes from Stanford University, and you cannot say that Stanford does not have power. It does. But the ideal of co-design is you have an equal playing field where you can actually exchange ideas and do things differently. One of the things that was very apparent in that process, and this is a concern of the Commonwealth government at the time, is that how could they hold state governments to accountability? And that's often a problem in common-state relationships, where the Commonwealth has all the money, states have all the delivery responsibility, but none of the money. It's a fundamental problem of the Federation. It's called vertical fiscal imbalance. But what happens, and up until that point, the Commonwealth had a very simplistic approach, where the Commonwealth was responsible for some targets for which they thought they owned, and state governments got all the other targets. This was incredibly simplistic because actually, if you do an analysis of that, it's actually not how it works. But we would go for 18 months. I would sit in front of the state governments and they'd go New South Wales, Victoria, and they all went down in kind of equality of power, and they'd say no, 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 which I called the world of no's. Come in the coalition of peaks, and suddenly the dynamic had changed. And one of my ministers actually said to me, that is giving us power to hold states accountable.
Who's holding the Commonwealth accountable?
Well, that is always the question, and that is also true of the coalition of peaks. In some ways, the ideal of a co-design framework is everyone holds each other accountable.
Yes.
Because peaks have also got a responsibility. They have to deliver services.
Yeah.
And they have to be accountable for that delivery. Now, I'm not sure entirely that the coalition of the peaks saw it in that way, but actually that is the true way about everyone holds each other accountable to deliver their outcomes.
Lovely. Is there anything else you want to add about the conference? I love coming to the lower conferences, seeing people that you haven't seen for a while. Is there anything else that you want to share with people about what you've heard?
It's nice to be in an environment that's actually culturally safe.
Yeah, true that.